Judge, you're an idiot.
What happens when a luxury real estate agent worth $40 million walks into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom for hit-and-run charges, then rolls her eyes every time he speaks while dismissing a disabled veteran's testimony as irrelevant sob stories? This cold-hearted woman is about to learn that some eye rolls reveal character completely, some dismissive gestures expose guilt, and some judges notice every single detail of body language that others miss. But what makes this case absolutely stunning isn't just the disrespect or the callous attitude. It's what Judge Caprio discovered by carefully watching her physical reactions during testimony, noticing one eye roll that happened at the wrong moment, and unraveling an insurance fraud scheme that sent her to prison for 6 years. Subscribe now because this is unforgettable. It's a Wednesday afternoon in Providence Municipal Court, and the atmosphere feels heavy. The case scheduled for 2 p.m. has attracted attention from local media because of the victim involved, 67-year-old Army veteran Thomas Brennan, a Purple Heart recipient who served 2 tours in Vietnam and now lives on a fixed disability income. 3 weeks ago, Thomas was crossing the street in downtown Providence using his walker. He moved slowly due to injuries sustained during his military service and worsened by age. A silver Mercedes SUV struck him from behind as he was in the middle of the crosswalk, knocking him down and causing significant injuries. The driver didn't stop. She accelerated and drove away, leaving Thomas lie in the street with a broken hip and severe bruising. Security cameras captured the entire incident, including a clear image of the license plate. Police traced the vehicle to Nicole Ashford, age 46, a successful luxury real estate agent who specializes in multi-million-dollar properties in Newport and Providence. She's known in wealthy circles as someone who can sell any property, no matter how difficult, through aggressive negotiation and an almost ruthless business approach. When police arrived at her home to question her about the incident, Nicole claimed her car had been stolen that day and she hadn't been driving it. However, the security footage showed the driver was clearly a woman matching Nicole's description, and when police examined her vehicle, they found damage consistent with striking a pedestrian, along with Thomas's DNA on the front bumper. Nicole was arrested and charged with hit-and-run causing serious injury, reckless driving, and making false statements to police. She posted bail immediately and hired an expensive attorney. Judge Frank Caprio reviews the case file carefully. What concerns him most isn't just the charges. It's the pattern of behavior the file suggests. Nicole Ashford has had 3 previous traffic incidents, all involving aggressive driving, all settled with fines that she paid without hesitation. Someone with her wealth can simply pay fines and continue dangerous behavior without ever truly facing consequences. The bailiff calls the case. The State of Rhode Island versus Nicole Catherine Ashford. Charges: hit-and-run causing serious bodily injury, reckless driving, making false statements to law enforcement. The courtroom doors open, and Nicole Ashford enters with the confident stride of someone who's never truly been held accountable for anything. She's 46 years old, expensively maintained, wearing a designer suit that probably cost $4,000. Her jewelry is understated but clearly expensive. A Cartier watch, small diamond earrings, a simple gold necklace that's probably worth more than most people's monthly rent. Her hair is perfectly styled, professionally colored to hide any gray. Her makeup is flawless, applied with expert precision. Behind her walks her attorney, David Richardson, from a prominent Providence law firm. He's 58 years old, experienced, known for defending wealthy clients in difficult cases. Nicole walks to the defendant's table with her head held high, her expression one of mild annoyance, as if this entire proceeding is an inconvenience she shouldn't have to endure. Judge Frank Caprio observes her carefully. He's developed an ability over 35 years on the bench to read people through their body language, their expressions, the tiny unconscious signals they send. Nicole Ashford's body language is telling him something important. She doesn't believe she's in real trouble. Ms. Ashford, Judge Caprio begins, his voice calm and professional. You're facing serious charges. How do you plead? Nicole glances at her attorney, then back at Judge Caprio. As he's speaking, She rolls her eyes. It's subtle, quick, but unmistakable. A gesture of contempt, of dismissal, of someone who fundamentally doesn't respect the authority addressing her. David Richardson stands quickly, perhaps trying to redirect attention from his client's disrespectful gesture. Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty to all charges. We believe there are significant questions about the identification of the driver, the reliability of the security footage, and the prosecution's timeline of events. Judge Caprio's eyes haven't left Nicole. Ms. Ashford, I asked you the question. How do you plead? Nicole sighs, another gesture of annoyance. Not guilty, obviously. She rolls her eyes again as she says it. Ms. Ashford, I need you to understand the seriousness of these charges. A man was severely injured. You're accused of leaving him in the street without rendering aid. Do you understand the gravity of the situation? Nicole's response is to examine her manicured nails, clearly bored. I understand you think I did something wrong. I didn't. Someone stole my car that day. It wasn't me driving. Judge Caprio turns to the prosecutor. Mr. Chun, please present evidence. Assistant District Attorney Michael Chun stands. He's 38 years old, thorough, and he prepared extensively for this case. Your Honor, we have security camera footage showing the incident. We have witness testimony from 3 people who saw what happened. We have medical records documenting Mr. Brennan's injuries. And we have forensic evidence from Ms. Ashford's vehicle, including damage consistent with striking a pedestrian and DNA evidence matching the victim. Nicole rolls her eyes again, more obviously this time. She's making sure people can see her dismissiveness. The courtroom monitor displays the security footage. The image is clear, shot from a street camera at the intersection where the incident occurred. Thomas Brennan appears in frame, using his walker to cross the street. He's moving slowly but steadily, clearly within the marked crosswalk. The walk signal is visible, showing he has the right of way. A silver Mercedes SUV approaches from behind. It doesn't slow down. It strikes Thomas from behind, the impact violent enough that Thomas is thrown forward, his walker flying one direction, while he falls in another. He hits the pavement hard. The Mercedes doesn't stop. The brake lights never illuminate. The vehicle simply continues through the intersection and drives away. The license plate is clearly visible. Thomas lies motionless in the street for several seconds. Then pedestrians rush to help him. Someone is calling 911. Thomas is conscious but clearly in severe pain, unable to stand. When the footage ends, the courtroom is silent. The callousness of the hit and run, the vulnerability of the elderly veteran, the clear abandonment, it's all captured in brutal detail. Judge Caprio looks at Nicole. Ms. Ashford, you just watched footage of your vehicle striking Mr. Brennan and driving away. What do you have to say? Nicole shrugs. That's not me driving. Someone stole my car. The footage shows a woman driving. The woman's physical appearance matches yours. Blonde hair, similar build, similar age. Nicole rolls her eyes yet again. Lots of women have blonde hair. Your Honor, that's not evidence. Judge Caprio makes a note, his expression thoughtful. He's counting. That's the 4th time she's rolled her eyes. Each time dismissing something important. The charges, the seriousness of the situation, the victim's injuries, the video evidence. Michaelchin continues, Your Honor, we have forensic evidence from Ms. Ashford's vehicle. The front bumper had impact damage consistent with striking a pedestrian. We found paint transfer, fabric fibers from Mr. Brennan's clothing and his DNA. Nicole actually laughs, a short, sharp sound. DNA can be planted. Everyone knows that. You watch too much TV. David Richardson tries to control his client. Nicole, please let me handle this. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking, David. This is ridiculous. Judge Caprio signals for the next witness. I'd like to hear from Mr. Brennan. Thomas Brennan is brought forward in a wheelchair. He's 67 years old. His body's showing the wear of military service and hard years. His left leg is in a cast. His hip replacement's still healing. He moves with obvious pain, but his back is straight, his bearings still showing the discipline of his military training. He's wearing his Army service jacket with his medals pinned to it. The Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, campaign ribbons from Vietnam. His gray hair is neatly trimmed. His eyes are sharp, intelligent, taking in everything. As Thomas is positioned near the witness stand, Nicole rolls her eyes again, this time more dramatically. She leans over to whisper something to her attorney. Her expression one of complete disdain. Judge Caprio notices. That's the fifth eye roll. And this one was directed at a decorated veteran about to give testimony about being struck by her vehicle, Mr. Brennan. Judge Caprio begins gently. Please tell the court what happened on the day of the incident. Thomas's voice is steady despite his obvious pain. Your Honor, I was crossing Waterman Street at the marked crosswalk. I had the walk signal. I use a walker because of injuries I sustained in Vietnam and because of my age. I moved slowly, but I was in the crosswalk where I had the legal right to be. Nicole whispers loudly enough for people nearby to hear. Here we go with the war stories. Judge Caprio's expression becomes very stern. Ms. Ashford, you will remain silent during the witness's testimony. Nicole rolls her eyes yet again. The sixth time. Thomas continues, his dignity unshaken by her disrespect. I heard a vehicle approaching from behind, but I assumed it would stop because I was clearly visible in the crosswalk. It didn't stop. It hit me from behind. I remember the impact, the pain, flying through the air. I remember hitting the pavement. I heard the vehicle drive away without stopping. What injuries did you sustain, Mr. Brennan? Broken hip, Your Honor. I had to have hip replacement surgery. Multiple contusions. Severe bruising. At my age, injuries like this don't heal the way they would in a younger person. I was in the hospital for 9 days. I'm still in physical therapy. The doctors say I may never walk without assistance again. Nicole rolls her eyes and whispers to her attorney, how long is this sob story going to take? Judge Caprio stands up. Ms. Ashford, approach the bench. Now. Nicole looks surprised but walks forward with her attorney. When they're at the bench, Judge Caprio's voice is low, but carries steel. Ms. Ashford, I've been watching you for the past 15 minutes. You've rolled your eyes 7 times. Once when I explained the seriousness of the charges. Once when the prosecutor described the evidence. Once when the video showed you striking Mr. Brennan. Twice when I asked you questions. Once when Mr. Brennan entered in his wheelchair. And just now when he described his injuries. Each time dismissing something that matters. Each time showing contempt for this proceeding and for the victim. Nicole shrugs. So, I'm allowed to have facial expressions. You're allowed to have expressions, but those expressions reveal your character, Ms. Ashford. They reveal someone who fundamentally doesn't care that she injured another human being. Someone who sees a disabled veteran's testimony as a sob story rather than a description of real suffering. Your Honor, David Richardson tries to intervene. My client is understandably stressed by these proceedings. Your client is bored, Mr. Richardson. There's a difference. Stressed people look nervous, anxious, concerned. Your client looks annoyed that she has to be here. Judge Caprio turns back to Nicole. Ms. Ashford, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I want you to think very carefully before you answer. When you rolled your eyes just now, right after Mr. Brennan described his broken hip and hip replacement surgery, what were you thinking? Nicole hesitates. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. You rolled your eyes right at the moment he said, broken hip. Why? It's a natural reaction. A natural reaction to what? To hearing about an elderly man's broken hip? Most people react to that news with sympathy or concern. You reacted with dismissive contempt. Why? Nicole's face flushes. Because I knew he was going to exaggerate. People always exaggerate injuries when they're trying to get money. How did you know he would exaggerate? Because that's what people do. How did you know specifically about the hip injury before he testified? Nicole freezes. Her attorney's face goes pale. They both realize a mistake she just made. Judge Caprio's voice becomes very quiet. Ms. Ashford, you just revealed that you knew about the hip injury, but you claimed you weren't driving that day. You claimed someone stole your car, and you knew nothing about the incident. So, how did you know Mr. Brennan had a hip injury before he testified just now? Nicole's mouth opens and closes. I must have read it in the paperwork. What paperwork? The medical records weren't provided to you. They're evidence held by the prosecution. The only way you could know about the hip injury is if you were there when it happened, or if you've been following Mr. Brennan's condition since the incident. I'm not. Judge Caprio turns to the prosecutor. Mr. Chun, has Ms. Ashford been provided with copies of Mr. Brennan's medical records? No, Your Honor. Those documents were sealed as evidence. The defense has not received them yet through discovery. Judge Caprio looks at Nicole. Ms. Ashford, you knew about the hip injury. You rolled your eyes the moment he mentioned it, before he even described the extent of the damage. That suggests prior knowledge. How did you get that knowledge? Nicole's attorney tries desperately to salvage the situation. Your Honor, my client may have heard about the injury through other sources. What other sources, Mr. Richardson? The victim's medical information is protected by privacy laws. Unless Ms. Ashford was the driver who struck him, or unless she's been improperly obtaining his medical information, she shouldn't know specific details about his injuries. Judge Caprio continues, his voice measured but relentless. Ms. Ashford, I'm going to give you one opportunity to tell the truth. Were you driving your vehicle when it struck Mr. Brennan? Nicole's confident facade is crumbling. I want to speak to my attorney privately. That's your right. Bailiff, please escort Ms. Ashford and Mr. Richardson to the consultation room. We'll take a 15-minute recess. During the recess, Nicole and her attorney have a heated discussion in the consultation room. Her attorney is frantically explaining that she's destroyed her own defense through her body language and her slip about the hip injury. When court reconvenes, David Richardson stands. Your Honor, my client would like to address the court. Nicole stands, and for the first time, she looks genuinely worried. Your Honor, I was driving that day. The car wasn't stolen. I was driving and I hit Mr. Brennan. I panicked and drove away. The courtroom erupts in whispers. Thomas Brennan, still in his wheelchair, closes his eyes briefly, perhaps finding some relief in finally hearing the truth. Judge Caprio's voice is firm. Ms. Ashford, why did you lie to police? Why did you claim your car was stolen? Because I was scared. I knew I'd be in trouble. I thought if I said the car was stolen, I could avoid responsibility. That's filing a false police report, Ms. Ashford. That's an additional crime. I know. I'm sorry. Judge Caprio isn't finished. Ms. Ashford, when did you realize Mr. Brennan had a broken hip? Nicole hesitates. What do you mean? You knew about the hip injury before he testified today. When did you learn about it? I don't remember. Judge Caprio makes a decision. Mr. Chun, I want investigators to examine Ms. Ashford's phone records, computer activity, and any contacts she may have had regarding Mr. Brennan's medical condition. If she improperly obtained his medical information, that's a violation of privacy laws. Over the next 3 days, investigators discover something shocking. Nicole Ashford didn't just know about Thomas Brennan's injuries. She had been actively monitoring them. Phone records show she called Providence Hospital 3 times using a fake name, claiming to be a family member, trying to get updates on his condition. More disturbing, investigators discover emails between Nicole and her insurance agent discussing how to minimize her liability by documenting that the victim's injuries were pre-existing conditions worsened by the accident, not solely caused by it. The insurance agent, attempting to protect himself, provides authorities with audio recordings of phone conversations where Nicole explicitly described hitting the old man with the walker and expressed concern only about her insurance rates increasing, not about the victim's well-being. But the investigation uncovers something even worse. This wasn't Nicole's first hit and run. Investigators find evidence that 2 years earlier, she struck a cyclist in Newport, caused minor injuries, and fled the scene. That case was never solved because the cyclist didn't get the license plate. But Nicole's insurance record shows suspicious claims for front-end damage to her vehicle right around the time of that incident. And her Google search history from that period includes searches for hit-and-run statute of limitations and how to hide vehicle damage. 5 days after her courtroom admission, Nicole Ashford is arrested on additional charges: insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, obtaining medical records under false pretenses, and evidence emerges suggesting a second hit-and-run case from 2 years prior. 6 months later, the case goes to trial. Nicole's eye rolls in Judge Caprio's courtroom become evidence of her callous character. The video footage, her slip about the hip injury, the insurance fraud scheme, the evidence of a prior hit-and-run. It all comes together in a devastating case against her. The jury deliberates for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge in the criminal trial sentences Nicole Ashford to 6 years in state prison, 5 years probation, permanent revocation of her driver's license, $500,000 in restitution to Thomas Brennan, and forfeiture of her real estate license. Her career is over. Her reputation is destroyed. 6 years in prison for a hit-and-run she could have faced minimal consequences for if she'd simply stopped, rendered aid, and taken responsibility. 2 years into Nicole's sentence, Thomas Brennan writes her a letter. It's forwarded to her in prison. "Ms. Ashford, you hit me with your car and drove away. You left me lying in the street, broken and bleeding. When you finally came to court, you rolled your eyes at my testimony, dismissing my injuries as sob stories. You tried to defraud insurance companies. You showed no remorse, no empathy, no recognition that I'm a human being who suffered because of your actions. But I'm writing to tell you something important. I forgive you, not because you've earned it, not because your sentence is sufficient, but because carrying anger hurts me more than it hurts you. I'm 69 now. My hip healed, though I'll always walk with difficulty. My life continued despite what you did. I hope you use these years in prison to become someone who values human life, who feels empathy for others' suffering, who understand that our actions have consequences for real people with real lives." Thomas Brennan, U.S. Army Ret. Nicole reads the letter 3 times. She cried for hours. It's the first time since her arrest that she's cried for anyone but herself. She writes back, "Mr. Brennan, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I hit you and left you to die. I lied to police. I rolled my eyes at your suffering. I tried to profit from your pain through insurance fraud. I am a terrible person who value my convenience more than your life. Your letter is the first kindness anyone has shown me in 2 years, and I received it from the man I hurt most. I'm ashamed. I'm sorry. I can never make this right, but I'm trying to become someone better. Someone who would stop and help. Someone who wouldn't roll her eyes at another person's pain. Thank you for showing me what real character looks like." Nicole, if this story moved you, subscribe right now for more moments where Judge Frank Caprio proves that every gesture reveals character, every eye roll exposes truth, and no amount of will protects you from the consequences of cruelty. Hit that like button and share this because the world needs to see what real justice looks like. Remember Judge Caprio's words. Your expressions reveal your character. They reveal someone who fundamentally doesn't care that she injured another human being. That's the legacy of Judge Frank Caprio. That's the dignity of Thomas Brennan. That's justice for a veteran who deserved so much better. When I rolled too many. One slip about a hip injury she shouldn't have known about. One investigation that exposed years of callous behavior. 6 years in prison. A career destroyed. A life fundamentally changed because someone couldn't control their contempt long enough to hide their guilt. and one judge who noticed every single gesture, every dismissive look. Every moment revealed truth in a courtroom where nothing escapes observation.